friends, and welcome to Quantum Health Connections, where we explore questions of health. What is health? Where did we go wrong? And what can we do about it? Today, I will be reading from my book, Vim and Vigor, Escape the Medical Merry-Go-Round, Reclaim Your Health, and Live a Long and Healthy Life. Introduction. If you haven't got your health, you haven't got anything. Count Rugen, The Princess Bride. This book is specifically for you if you want answers for your health outside of the answers you are getting in the medical system. If you are like most people entering this journey, at least one of three concerns has brought you here. 1, you are desperate to get answers where the medical system didn't give them to you. 2, you have a spiritual belief and understanding that we are meant to be healthy. Or 3, you have come to realize that the people in our world aren't getting any healthier, even though you see them spending a significant amount of time, money, and effort on their health and healthcare. Autoimmune disease, heart disease, new diseases, diseases that were once affecting a few are now affecting the many and being normalized. Maybe you don't want to support the pharmaceutical companies. Maybe you just don't want to be sick. Maybe you don't want to be the person who slowly declines before they die. Maybe your child has a medical injury and you can't help. Maybe you're just scared for the health of your children because you want to see them spend more time playing and less time suffering or in the doctor's office. The majority of people in the world expect to have their bodies age in such a way that they will spend most of their time navigating doctor visits, needing more and more medications, having more and more procedures, and ultimately experiencing gradually declining health with little to no independence for the last few years of life. This isn't for you. There is obviously a certain level of security for those believing what they are told, and misery loves company, so a lot of people get together and share about their medications and suffering. If you're willing to give up that way of bonding with others, then this approach to health and lifestyle could be for you. Just a warning, you have to be made of something a little stronger and a little different from the average person to follow this plan. You'll be just outside the norms of society. People don't get this. They also don't understand just how great you can feel and how it is to focus on living life and enjoying life instead of suffering. Imagine that, no suffering. Fortunately, you are joining a growing group of people living extraordinarily healthy lives. Welcome, and congratulations on looking and living outside the box. The scope of this book. This book is based on many years of experience helping thousands of people restore their health. After decades of trying all the fads, doing the trial and error of recommendations myself, in the following pages, I share the patterns of what all successful programs have in common. It's what works. There is also a certain way that people who get better interact with the material they are learning so that they get the results they are looking for. Let's look at the 3 basic types of interactions people have with this type of information, and then we'll get to the meat of it. Readers will interact with this information in a variety of ways. However, there are loosely 3 categories of interaction. Depending on where you fit most closely, you can see where your results might be. This information is at the beginning of this book because, depending on where you fall, this book might not be the greatest benefit to you, so it wouldn't be worth your time to work through it. The get it done person. This person is determined to improve and then maintain their health level and independence over the years. She is willing to do what she needs to fight the aging process. She wants to know what she needs to do to get stronger and healthier, and she just does it. She seems to defy the odds and is perhaps a bit of a mystery to those around her, often considered lucky by those not realizing the conscientiousness and work put into maintaining such health. She is going to acknowledge the information that she already knows and look for the information she doesn't so that she can implement it. Communicate if something doesn't quite work right and ask the question, how can I take the information given to me and use it so I can get the result I want? This person has excellent results. The it's good enough person. She dabbles a little bit with ideas here and there, takes some recommendations, but not a lot. has to reduce activities and limits what she can do, plays around with different diets, is still active, may or may not be taking pain pills regularly, and has the typical decline of health expected for people as they age, but is likely doing a little bit better than some of her peers. This person expects that suffering is a part of getting older, but will do a little bit here and there to try and get better. This person has moderate results, will probably be on 1 or 2 medications, and is happy with this. This person will have moderate results. The I'm too busy person. Someone just tell me what to do and I'll consider if I don't have to make too many changes. This person does what she is told, often when it is convenient or if it doesn't interfere with her life. She is unwilling to make any dietary change or lifestyle changes. She rarely or loosely investigates solutions, focusing mainly on the problem and the pain. When considering solutions, she looks to see how convenient it is to her. Whether or not she wants to be on medications, she will likely end up on some at some point. She may bounce from possible solution to possible solution, rarely committing 100% to anything. She prefers to have someone tell her what to do and then not have to think about it. This person is best served staying with the medical route, and this book may be a waste of her time. Obviously, the results will be different for each person as these are sweeping generalizations. Most of us are somewhere along a gradient, and none of these is the right or wrong way to do it. Each of these dietary and lifestyle changes is perfect for the person doing them. The person who will benefit most from what I am writing in these pages or in this book are in the first 2 groups. The more you are willing to do for yourself, the better your results. As more people use this information and it becomes normalized, it will help the health of not only you and your family, but of future generations. If you are going to argue about what is in here because of the more mainstream data you have been following, then this is not for you. On the flip side, utilizing this information puts you outside the realm of the ordinary and puts you solidly into the world of the extraordinary. Extraordinary. If you see something or find something that you want to delve more into, the internet resources and suggested books listed at the end of this book are excellent resources. If you would like a part 2 with more detailed information on something, please let me know at info@drbonniejewel.com. Warning: if you are on medications, it may be dangerous and yes, fatal to remove yourself from medications without a proper weaning process or before making sure that your blood tests or other tests come back normal. Be sure to check in with your healthcare practitioner if you want to integrate any of these recommendations. Always get the approval of your prescribing doctor before getting off medications. I cannot stress this enough. If your health has declined to the degree that you need medications to stay healthy, the strategy is always to get on the medication. Then, when appropriate changes have been made, you will no longer need the medication. Pride of not needing medications has no place here. Your prescribing doctor can help you safely wean off your medications if appropriate. The recommendations in this book have worked for everyone who has used this information as a baseline and, following the recommendations, tweaked them for their unique situation. You can do the same. Since every person who has implemented these recommendations has had improvement, why not you? Who am I? Why should you listen to me? I'm going to give you my background as it relates to being healthy. As far as the changes that I made, I'll share those with you as we go through the rest of the book. At the time that I'm writing this, I have just turned 53. I'm much healthier and more vital than I was 20 years ago. I exercise 4, 5, or 6 days a week. The hard stuff, jumping around, running, lifting weights. Eat well, and I'm doing awesome actually. And it wasn't an easy journey to get here. It was so hard that I wouldn't wish this path on my worst enemy. I hope that this book and my story will prevent you from traveling down the path of hell that I went through. And if you're sitting in the muck of it, like I was, my greatest desire is that this book gives you hope and shines a light on your pathway out. I'm on the other side and am forever grateful. On this side of the health spectrum, you guard your health like a mama bear guards her cubs. I'm just a regular person, so if I can do it, you can. And here it is. How my journey started. It was 1999. I was 29 years old and in a master's program for teaching English. I planned to travel the world. Teaching English would be my ticket to getting employment in whatever country I wanted to go to. I thought about health as being slender and fit, and it was relatively easy for me. While in school, I gained a little weight, so I started eating frozen vegetables and frozen fish. I just put them in the microwave to heat them. I cut back on sugar a little and increased the exercise. I drank wine with dinner, but that was my little treat. And sometimes I'd have ice cream at night. But I made sure my calories were low and I'd lose weight. I looked good. For the pain I was in from previous injuries, skiing accident, flipping over on my bicycle and landing on my face, I was a leap and then look kind of kid. I would take my painkillers because that's what you did. And when I had my debilitating cramps for my period every other month, I'd suffer, take the Aleve, and it usually worked. If it didn't work, I'd suffer through. When I say debilitating cramps, the cramps were so bad that I'd take 1 to 2 days off every other month, lying on the cool bathroom floor, crying, vomiting, having diarrhea, sweating, trying to breathe, and just waiting for the pain to get over. If I knew then what I know now, I'd never go through that. But mine was a normal life. My pain and suffering were part of the normal scheme of things. Everyone seemed to have something. Pills would help, and if they didn't, you were out of luck. I was planning a regular American life with the future of adventure thrown in. My first job when I graduated with my master's degree in English was in South Korea. I had to take a handful of vaccines to go there. I remember when the nurse gave them to me. She showed me sheets of paper with information on them, written in fine print and using big words I didn't understand. I didn't read it because I trusted her. She was a nurse and obviously knew more than I did. She gave me all my shots and I didn't think anything else about it. Fast forward a few months to living in South Korea. Exercise was a little more uncomfortable for me. I started having trouble breathing, but I attributed it to the stress of living in another country, quite different from anywhere else I had lived. I mostly ignored the increased discomfort because I was focused on working and experiencing life in my new home. I still mostly ate what I wanted and kept it as healthy as I understood at the time. I was starting to have a sensitivity to certain foods, but that was something people had, so I didn't think much about it. I just tried to eat around it. If I did eat something that bothered me, I would have trouble breathing. It was annoying but manageable. I was taking it all in stride. During my last month there, I traveled to visit a friend on a remote island in the Philippines and had to take an anti-malarial drug. I took the pills for 2 weeks before I went, the 2 weeks I was there, and the 2 weeks after. While I was there, my body started losing control. Out of nowhere, I felt a crushing pressure come down on my chest and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die. I didn't want to bother my friend, so I got up in the middle of the night and put my face in the freezer so I could get a breath. It was a hot and humid place with no air conditioning. The freezer worked. The next morning, my friend told me that a lot of people seem to have weird reactions to the anti-malarial drug, and some people just stopped taking it. One guy who was one of those super manly types got emotional and weepy on it. He had stopped taking it. I didn't know at the time that sticking my head in the freezer was an action that I would repeat many times over the next few years. My idea at the time was that was what I was trained to think. It would leave my system over time, and boy, was I wrong. The last time I had to stick my head in the freezer was 3 years ago. So 20 years after the first occurrence, it has taken me that long to figure all this out. I moved back to the US and didn't think more about my woes. I got a job at a university teaching. My trouble breathing was getting worse. I was 30 years old. I had to go up a flight of stairs to get to my office. One day I had to sit down on the steps because I couldn't make it up. A colleague asked if I was okay. I said I didn't know. So I made an appointment to get my heart checked. I went to a hospital for a stress test and whatever other test they did, and they told me there was nothing wrong with me. I knew there was something wrong, but I trusted them. I trusted them more than that part of me saying something was wrong. I pushed the feeling away. They knew more than I did and were medically trained. I moved on expecting that it would pass. 9/11 happened, and I decided to move near my sister in Albuquerque, New Mexico. By now, I was starting to experience more pain. I was taking pain pills every day to manage it. I was exercising and doing yoga. I was still convinced that exercise and some medically recommended changes in my diet were all I needed to get healthy. By the time I got to New Mexico, the pain was severe enough that when I exercised one day, I'd have to wait 3 days to exercise again. The pain was too much otherwise. The pain pills weren't touching the pain at that point. Like the story of the boiling frog in water, I barely noticed it was getting worse until I reflected on it years later. Frog in water, a lesson of remaining unaware. The frog in boiling water story goes something like this. If you try to put a frog in boiling water, it will jump out. But if you put a frog in comfortable water and slowly increase the temperature, it won't notice. The water will eventually boil and kill the frog. He just won't notice that he's dying. I don't know if this is true, but the point gets across. I continue to think that as long as I kept my weight down and exercised and ate some healthy foods, I would be able to be healthy and get my health back. My cramps were still bad and getting worse. The symptoms were the same, but now painkillers didn't help. When I went to the doctor, I was told I was infertile. I was also starting to have significant pain in my joints. I was in so much pain that I would cry at night. I had 4 to 5 different places I would try to sleep. If I got 3 hours of sleep, I was lucky. I often asked God why this was happening to me and would beg to please, please, please help me. I'd drink coffee in the morning to get me going and wine at night to calm me down. I decided to eat mainly vegetarian food in case that would help. I would eat packaged foods that said they were healthy on the label or were commonly thought of as healthy, beans and rice, for example. It was hell on earth, and I wasn't even 35 yet. But I looked really good because I exercised and ate in a way that I was told was correct. I was slender. I was fit. I looked healthy. But I had experiences that, when I look back now, were tip-offs that something was going wrong with my health. For example, if I went to a salad bar, I'd get diarrhea within 10 minutes of eating. I stopped going to them because I found out that the lettuce is sprayed with a chemical to keep it fresh looking. That was new information for me. I started investigating. I didn't make the connection with my diet, and no medical person ever talked to me about it. Ever. Not once. I went to the doctor and got a blood test for sensitivities. There were only minor ones, and I was low in iodine. My doctors weren't concerned. I didn't learn until many years later how alarming that was regarding my health and how it was linked to my pain. When the pain got bad enough, I went to a pain specialist. He took an MRI. The report came in. He told me there was nothing wrong with me. I said, yes, there is. There is something wrong with me. I have a scar on my right butt cheek from a fall many years ago. I told him, I have this scar. You didn't even check that. He said, I'm a doctor. I've had many years of training, and there's nothing wrong with you. I have had my body my entire life, I said, and I'm telling you there is something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with you. I'm referring you to a psychiatrist. He walked me over to a model of his spine and started talking about it. I didn't hear a word he said. I was completely livid. How am I going to live like this for the rest of my life? That was it. I realized I was going to have to figure this out on my own. I can't do this anymore. I did take what he said to heart, that the pain was in my head, but I was done with trying to take different drugs. I wanted to know why I had this pain and suffering and fix that. If I could fix that, I'd be better. God, take me home or help me figure this out. Please, I can't do it anymore. I leaned on Jesus because he is the greatest healer, and I had to lean on someone because I had no one in my world to lean on. No one I knew could hear what I was saying about how horrible I felt, and they either didn't believe me or just plain couldn't understand the level of suffering I was in because I looked healthy. I was so alone and lost that if suicide had been on the table for me, I probably would have done it. I had to find answers. I would end up spending thousands upon thousands and dollars and hundreds of hours getting therapies and treatments, getting trained in some and experiencing others. I learned that just about everything I was raised to believe would make me healthy. I learned that just about everything I was raised to believe would make me healthy was either making me sick or limiting how healthy I could get. It took me 10 years to get healthier than people my same age, and it took 10 more years to fully heal and maximize my health. My goal and my mind were on finding the solutions. It was in 2020 when I finally knew that it was over. Suffering ended. And here's a picture of me with Dr. Ruth attending the Renaissance Weekend in Charleston, South Carolina, New Year's Eve, 2009. When this picture was taken, I was in chronic pain and barely sleeping. You can see the inflammation around my face. I was living in Dallas, but had traveled to New Hampshire on my way to Charleston for my first visit with Dr. Diodamo Sr., founder of the Blood Type Diet. He taught me about the common misunderstanding of food quality and how that affects health. Why I am writing this book. I'm writing this book because I know that if I can help even a few people get their health back, they will start getting themselves on track. As they need help, some will reach out to me as a resource to help them on their journey. Whether they reach out to me or not, at the very least, they will be able to have a foundation of health for themselves. When you don't feel good, it's really hard to be patient, kind, and understanding of others. Not only do you suffer, but so do your relationships. The healthier you are, the more you can focus, without the distraction of pain and discomfort on the things that are important to you, God, family, and friends, and enjoying this beautiful world we live in. That's it for today. Thank you for listening. If you would like your own copy of Vim and Vigor, you can find it at the Amazon link below. And if you learned something that helped you, please like and share, and I will see you next time.